Our world is changing. More people in cities, more demand for high-speed data, more cars on the road powered by electricity, more focus on climate impact. The future is fast. Our products ensure the safety of the food chain from farm to table and safeguard vital vaccines as they travel to communities around the world. Our products protect people living in the harshest climates on Earth, make our buildings more energy efficient, and allow Olympians to create miracles on ice. Our products enable connectivity and power global data centers in a cleaner way. We are making today a possibility, and tomorrow comes sooner. With our commitment to innovation, technical expertise, responsible manufacturing, and the stewardship of our shared planet, we are dedicated to creating products with sustainable life cycles by enabling new ways to recycle refrigerants and reclaim materials. Our world is changing faster every day, and we're up for all its challenges, ensuring that our shared future is the one we all want to live in.
Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us this afternoon. My name is Christian Piles, and I'm the Chemours North American HVAC Business Development Lead. We're excited to share with you our news today, and we're going to be sharing lots of great information, and there's going to be several opportunities for question and answer periods. We're also recording this event for future use. We have our team monitoring the Q&A lists, so if you have a question related to the agenda topics, please feel free to click on the Q&A button up at the top right corner of your screen in order to submit a question. We'll try to answer your question during the Q&A periods. However, if you'd like us to send you a written response, please make sure to also include your contact information, such as your email address, along with your question. Throughout this event, we're going to be hearing from Chemours Business President Alicia Beleza, as well as our industry partners. We're also going to have short presentations on future changes in the industry, changes in our industry from our expert session. Lastly, we'll announce the winners of our raffle. We appreciate you being here, and we're excited to get going. Now, I'd like to introduce Alicia Beleza. Alicia is the president of the Thermal and Specialized Solutions business here at Chemours. Alicia, please take it away.
Thanks so much, Chris. I'm really pleased to be here with you and everyone who's taken the time to participate in this exciting event. At Chemours, as we think of it, we're on the road to a greener world. And the role of the HVACR industry is simply stated, creating cleaner, safer, and more efficient technologies. In the US, our industry is grappling with the demand to comply with the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, which mandates the phase down of greenhouse gases such as hydrochlorofluorocarbons, or HFCs, that have high global warming potential, or GWP. The destination is long-term, energy-efficient refrigerant solutions with lower GWP. These solutions are cost-effective, easy to implement, and deliver optimal performance with a minimal impact on the environment. At Chemours, we are truly thrilled to commercially launch Opteon XL41, or R54B, for the North American market as the new generation solution for our HVAC industry. It's high-performing, environmentally sustainable replacement for R410A in air conditioner, heat pump, and chiller applications. And global manufacturers are paving the way for a smooth transition to low GWP refrigerants. Carrier, Rheem, and Johnson Controls, to name a few, have already selected Opteon XL41 to replace R410A in their ducted residential and light commercial packaged products in North America. These original equipment manufacturers chose to lead with Opteon XL41 for 3 reasons. First, it's sustainable. Compared with R410A, Opteon XL41 offers a 78% reduction in global warming potential, while improving energy efficiency and lowering charge size. Second, it's familiar. With operating temperatures and pressures similar to those of R410A, it minimizes system design changes and enables an easier transition from 410A platforms. Third, Chemours is a partner that can be relied on. We have made significant investments in our Corpus Christi, Texas plant site and have one of the largest facilities globally of R1234YF a key raw material in Opteon XL41. Our customers can trust that we will continue to invest to meet increasing market demands for environmentally sustainable solutions. Bottom line, XL41 delivers the right balance of sustainability, performance, and ease for future air conditioning and heat pump applications. At Chemours, we are dedicated to connecting with our customers and the broader HVAC and refrigeration industry with leading-edge technologies, education, and training. Our primary goal is to help our industry smoothly transition from HFCs to our Opteon solutions, achieve more efficient thermal management, and advance enduring solutions that meet today's demands and tomorrow's opportunities. Join us as we launch our Opteon XL41, a new generation solution that creates a greener and healthier world. Thank you so much. Back to you, Chris.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, Alicia. This really is an exciting time, not only for our industry, but also for the Chemours company. Now, Opteon XL41 is moving one step closer to the market. Up to this point, we've been offering XL41 for research and for product evaluation purposes. Today, we're commercially launching Opteon XL41 to support safe refrigerant transition alongside our best-in-class technical support. Chemours is here to support our customers in this fast-changing market and regulatory environment. Through the course of this event, we're going to learn more about how XL41 is going to fit into the future of HVAC in the US, and turning this corner is a major step on that path. Before we move on to the next section, I'd like to talk a little bit about the raffle that we're running. If you officially registered for attending this event in the link that was sent to you, then you are also automatically entered into the raffle. The main prize that you might win is a $250 gift card from the NHL store, thanks to our partnership with the National Hockey League. Also, we're giving away 2 awesome Mammoth coolers, as well as the Opteon gift bags, which include a Chemours cinch bag, Opteon stainless steel tumbler, koozies, etc. All the goodies. I'm excited to reveal the winners later on at the end of the event. Now, we'd like to take a few moments to share messages from our valuable industry partners. We're excited to continue working with our partners along this journey. At this time, I'd like to invite Carrier via a video message.
Hello, I am Justin Keppy, President of North America Residential and Light Commercial HVAC here at Carrier. I am pleased to join the official launch of Opteon XL41, which Carrier is commercially launching as Puron Advance. R454B is Carrier's primary high-performance, sustainable, lower GWP solution to replace 410A in all of our ducted residential and light commercial package solutions sold here in North America. After conducting extensive analysis and testing of low GWP options, more than 25 field trials, and being the first to achieve UL certification, the choice was clear. 454B is the best replacement for 410A. With a GWP of 466, 1/5 of R410A, we anticipate that this new refrigerant to surpass not only the proposed 2025 transition date, but also well into the future as HFC emissions are phased down. In addition, 454B has excellent performance in normal and extreme ambient conditions, lower discharge temperatures, longer reliability, and installs and services similar to 410A with minimal changes to design. Of course, as with any new product launch, we strongly encourage all distributors and technicians to review training materials and ensure compliance with relevant safety standards and building code requirements. These and other materials will be made available through mylearningcenter.com as we transition from R410A to R454B. Carrier has been working with the Chemours Company, a global leader in fluorochemicals and refrigerant technology, who will produce and distribute Carrier's Puron Advance. Chemours was integral to the development of R454B. Together, we are prepared for the HFC phase down. Ride the refrigerant wave with Carrier and Chemours and join us in celebrating this product launch.
Now that was powerful. Thank you very much for your support, Justin, and congratulations on your success with being the first for those UL certifications and for your results with the field trials. Chemours acknowledges that our partners have been very busy preparing to comply with the new regulations from energy changes to new refrigerants. So our hat is off to them for the complex effort. Rheem has a very exciting story about their journey on this road. Let's take a look.
Hello, I'm Mike Branson, President of Global Air for Rheem Manufacturing Company. At Rheem, we understand that being an industry leader comes with great responsibility. That's why at the 2019 AHR Expo in Atlanta, we were proud to announce our global sustainability program, A Greater Degree of Good. This program positively impacts every area of our industry, from processes to products to people. And I'm excited to say we are well on our way to achieving our goals and exceeding many of them by our 100th anniversary celebration in 2025. Part of our ongoing commitment to sustainability is helping to pioneer low-impact refrigerants, reducing hydrofluorocarbons with high global warming potential. Over the next 15 years, the EPA will administer an 85% phase down of hydrofluorocarbons as part of the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act. Through our own ongoing research, innovation, and partnerships, including our relationships with Chemours, we are confident that Opteon XL41 and R454B refrigerant will help us safely and responsibly transition into the future. At Rheem, we are excited to launch our all-new heating and cooling platforms at the end of this year. It's been reimagined and redesigned to meet the new energy efficiency regulations coming in January of 2023. And it's been created with the refrigerant transition in mind. In fact, we'll be ready with select ducted product families in R454B well before the 2025 required transition date. As part of our Greater Degree of Good initiative, we work tirelessly to do good by our customers, our partners, our employees, and our planet. We're thankful for partners like Chemours and for everyone here today. We look forward to helping lead the industry to a better, more sustainable future together. For ongoing updates on the refrigerant transition, efficiency regulations, and Rheem's progress, visit our HVAC No Zone online today. Thank you.
Wow, what a great example of a proactive company acting with environmental responsibility. Rheem's new product designs will meet the new energy efficiency requirements coming into effect in 2023, and they'll also be ready for a change in refrigerant from 410A to Opteon XL41. Thank you, Mike, and congratulations on all Rheem's success with the Greater Degree of Good program. Now, we're going to move into the portion of the event where we hear from industry experts. Each speaker will give a short presentation, and then we'll have time to answer a couple of questions from the audience. Remember to use the Q&A button in the top right corner of the screen to submit any questions that you might have. If we cannot answer your question live during the event, we will follow up with you after the event. Please remember to add your contact information along with your question so that we can send you a written reply. Let me introduce today's speakers. First, we'll hear from Esther Rosenberg about the current state of U.S. regulations impacting the HVAC industry. Esther is our Global Regulatory Advocacy and Sustainability Director here at Chemours. After that, I will spend a few minutes discussing how Opteon XL41 qualifies as the best refrigerant choice out of all the R410A-like alternatives available on the market. I'm the North American HVAC Business Development Lead, and I've been in the HVAC industry for the past 15 years. After myself, we'll hear a quick message from Chris Forth via a video message. Chris is the Executive Vice President of Regulatory, Codes, and Environmental Affairs at JCI, and we will share why JCI is moving forward with Opteon XL41. Last, we'll hear from Jeff Warther about important aspects of the A2L Safety Group. Jeff is a market development senior consultant with over 35 years in the HVACR industry. So let's start by welcoming Esther Rosenberg to the event.
Thank you, Chris. Regulations are an important factor for our industry. Today, I will discuss U.S. refrigerant regulations that are driving the market adoption of Opteon XL41. For today's agenda, I'll give a high-level overview of the global environmental considerations. I'll highlight U.S. federal regulations. I'll discuss state actions on HFCs. Then I'll provide a wrap-up of what all these regulatory dynamics mean for refrigerant choices. At the end, I'm happy to answer questions. Since the 1990s, our industry has been operating under an international environmental treaty called the Montreal Protocol. The Montreal Protocol was a landmark agreement designed to protect the Earth's ozone layer. CFCs like R12 and HCFCs like R22 had the potential to impact the ozone layer, and this impact was called ODP, or ozone depletion potential. The Montreal Protocol set a schedule to phase out of CFCs like R12 and HCFCs like R22. At the global level, another consideration began to emerge: climate change. Within the Montreal Protocol, there's a separate amendment called the Kigali Amendment. The Kigali Amendment's focus is on HFCs like R410A and global warming impact. While HFCs have no ozone depletion potential, they do have a global warming impact called GWP, global warming potential. GWP was developed to compare the warming impact of different gases relative to CO2. GWP is a specific molecule's ability to absorb and retain heat, which then forms a blanket and warms the surface of the Earth. Not all HFCs are the same. The lower the GWP, the lower or smaller the impact on climate change. Since it is a comparative measure to CO2, it could also be referred to as an exchange value equivalent. The main takeaway from this chart is that climate change regulations are underway, and HFC refrigerants like 410A are being regulated, but differently than the way R12 and R22 were regulated. Moving forward, the US is taking climate actions specific to HFCs. At the federal level, on December 2020, President Trump signed the American Innovation and Manufacturing Act, also known as the AIM Act. The AIM Act had bipartisan support. The AIM Act gives EPA authority to establish a total US baseline of HFCs on a weighted CO2 equivalent basis, and then phase down versus the baseline using a very specific step-down reduction schedule shown in the chart. It also gives EPA authority to create sector-specific controls and refrigerant management aspects, specifically encouraging reclaim. The AIM Act is underway. As of January 1, 2022, we're currently operating under a 10% reduction of the total US baseline. January 1, 2024 is our next step down year with a 40% reduction versus the baseline. Moving to US state activity. To tackle climate change, individual states have developed their own statewide goals, and some of these include specific HFC regulations. An example of this is in California. California has finalized specific air conditioning global warming potential limits for new equipment. In California, new equipment must not exceed a GWP limit of 750 by specific type and date listed on the chart. You can see that an R410A system with a GWP of 2088 will no longer be allowed for new equipment. Opteon XL41 has a 78% lower climate impact than R410A systems. It is well below the sector control limit since it has a GWP of 466. It's important to note that this California regulation is for new equipment. It does not impact servicing existing equipment with R410A. In summary, what do all these regulations mean for refrigerant selection? And what can you do? Well, when making refrigerant choices, look to make the optimal choice for CO2 equivalency usage. We ask that you support the transition away from higher GWP products. Since the AIM Act regulates HFCs using a baseline and reduction structure on a weighted CO2 equivalent basis across all HFCs, AIM gives flexibility to transition away from higher GWP products and grow volume in products that have lower GWP. So everyone from contractors, end users to manufacturers and producers need to collaborate and reduce demand for higher GWP products. To wrap up, the HFC phase down is underway in the US. The Chemours team is ready to support your transition. I hope you found this information helpful. Thank you for your time today. And Chris, back to you if we have time for questions.
Thanks so much, Esther. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the clear explanation of how and why the US regulations have come into being. The EPA is actively pushing forward the HFC phase down, which falls in line with the global effort to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. All right, it looks like we do have a couple minutes to take some questions. Let's see if there are questions. Okay, it looks like there's one here. Esther, what does Chemours recommend for servicing of installed R410A systems in the future?
Thank you, Chris. So currently, there's no commercially available retrofit replacement for refrigerant for R410A. We do recommend that you refer to your original equipment manufacturer for proper servicing guidelines. But overall, we recommend a robust refrigerant management program for proper maintenance. And that includes things like leak prevention, recovery, recycle, and reclaim in combination with virgin R410A for service needs.
Good deal. Thanks a lot. And then I do have a second question here. They're saying it's hard to keep up with all of these regulation changes. Where can they get the latest regulatory information? Where do you get it?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's lots of information floating around and available. There are many resources you can find. I'll mention three. First, EPA actually has a website for AIM-related news, and that website is epa.gov/climate-HFCs-reduction. Also, the Air Conditioning, Heating, and Refrigeration Institute, AHRI, has formed a safe refrigerant transition task force, and they've held several webinars over the last couple years. You can actually find those recordings and more information and fact sheets on their website, ahrinet.org/safe refrigerant. And then, of course, I'll mention Chemours. Chemours has an HFC regulation fact sheet and one-page summary of the AIM Act, and you can address that on our website, opteon.com.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you, Chris.
Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Esther. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, so it looks like it's my turn. In this next section, we're going to talk about some of the specific composition and performance details of Opteon XL41 and why so much momentum is being built behind this new lower GWP refrigerant. It's important to think about how these features apply to your business, specifically regarding the changes that are happening, not just over the next couple of years, but also on throughout the rest of the decade. For most of us, our careers have involved refrigerants that are over in the green box. Commonly used refrigerants like R12, R22, and 410A have all been assigned an A1 safety group categorization under ASHRAE Standard 34. However, as Esther mentioned in the previous regulatory session, regulations are driving the refrigerant transition to have lower GWP values. It's important to note that in many cases, but not all, the lower GWP refrigerants will be in the category of lower flammability, placing them in the A2L safety group, which we're going to hear more about in a little while with Jeff Warther. Now on this slide, we start to see how the properties of Opteon XL41, which is R454B, compare to those of R410A. The composition of 410A is equal parts R32 and R125, and that combination comes with a calculated GWP of 2088. In XL41 and XL41, the R125 has been removed and replaced with R1234YF, but with a different ratio. This change produces a refrigerant that is nearly identical to 410A, but with a GWP of 466, 78% lower than 410A. As we filled in the table a little bit more, you see that there are a few pluses and minuses between the two. Compared to 410A, Opteon XL41 has a slightly lower capacity, but the capacity can be increased by the OEMs through system optimization. You'll also see that it has slightly higher efficiency than 410A. The discharge pressure is a little bit lower than 410A, and the discharge temperature is slightly higher. And in the bottom row, we see that XL41 has a small temperature glide, which still allows topping off after a refrigerant leak repair, just like you normally do with the 410A system. So why are so many OEMs selecting Opteon XL41? As we work closely with the industry leaders, we learned that the industry is looking for several key things in a new refrigerant. Number one, the industry needs a refrigerant with lower environmental impact. Number two, the industry wants a refrigerant that operates under similar conditions as 410A. And number three, the industry is looking for that new refrigerant to perform almost the same as 410A. Let's talk about how XL41 fits into that equation. With the GWP value of just 466, XL41 is the lowest GWP replacement for our 410A-like alternatives. Products designed around XL41 should have a longer production life versus some of the alternatives. Choosing a refrigerant that optimizes the balance between sustainability and performance minimizes the likelihood of an additional refrigerant change in the future. XL41 also has very similar operating conditions to 410A. And this is important. OEMs and value chain partners in the HVAC industry have been getting used to our 410A for the past 30 years. The components used in making 410A equipment are designed around these pressures and temperatures. The tools we use and the best practices that the industry has learned are well established. Choosing a refrigerant alternative that operates under similar conditions reduces the redesign of those systems and also speeds up your learning curve. While Opteon XL41 has a very similar capacity to R410A, it also has improved efficiency, meaning that a lot of the components currently being used won't need to change. Why else is it important that the performance of new refrigerant is similar to 410A? The world is moving forward towards electrification and away from burning natural gas for heat. The refrigerants that are coming in need to be ready for superior performance in heat pumps. Both XL41 and 410A are. Their operating envelope is pretty broad, allowing very good performance at low ambient conditions. Additionally, XL41 is a lower flammability refrigerant and is in the A2L safety group, making it very appropriate for many comfort cooling applications. In a few moments, Jeff is going to discuss more about what this safety group means. The last major point that I'd like to make is that companies all through our industry are even finding value in the momentum of the market selecting Opteon XL41. We could expect to see that with more OEMs using XL41, more distributors will be selling this particular refrigerant and to support their products. The momentum of the market should have a very positive effect on the availability of training and of the product itself. And those are the reasons that so many OEMs are moving in the direction of adopting XL41. Since R454B is the best choice to replace 410A, you can imagine where Opteon XL41 will be showing up very soon. Applications for Opteon XL41 are typical residential unitary systems, like commercial splits and package units, and some chillers. Even mini splits, multi-splits, and VRF systems are suitable applications for XL41. Finally, don't forget smaller systems such as PTACs and window units. All of these applications are going to have to transition away from 410A in the not too distant future, as Esther mentioned. All right, that's the end of my prepared slides, and I hope you're able to understand the impact of the changes that are happening. Let's see if there are any questions. All right. Does the transition for 410A and 454B require a change in lubricant, like the transition from 22 to 410? Thankfully, no. There's not going to be a change in the lubricant. Right now, 410A uses a POE oil. Going into XL41, it also uses a POE oil. From 22 to 410A, if you don't know, there was a major lubricant change, but that's not the case here. But ultimately, it's going to depend on the compressor OEM. They're going to be able to guide you in exactly what kind of POE oil that they're going to want you to use. Another question that I see here is, how will the charge size of an R454B system compare to a 410A? I think they're asking like charge size comparison between so if you had a light commercial split that had 10 pounds of refrigerant in it today, then when XL41 is in place down the road, you would use about 9 to 9.5 pounds in there. XL41 is slightly less dense, and so variably the charge size is going to be about 5 to 10% less. So I hope that answers the question. I hope I understood the question right, but that's what I got. All right, and now we'd like to hear from Chris Forth over at JCI via a video message.
Greetings to everyone. My name is Chris Forth. I manage JCI's ducted systems, regulatory codes, and environmental affairs. I wanted to provide a brief update on our transition to low GWP refrigerants and our selection of Chemours Opteon XL41, also known by its ASHRAE designation R454B. As one component of JCI's commitment to reducing its greenhouse gas emissions, JCI's ducted systems business is currently in process of converting all of its unitary offerings and some chillers to utilize XL41. As the pending deadline of January 1st, 2025 is fast approaching, we want to ensure all stakeholders, including distributors, contractors, building owners, and homeowners, are aware of the transition. JCI's selection of Opteon XL41 came after extensive research and testing, in which we evaluated several low GWP alternatives across various metrics such as safety, efficiency, capacity, material compatibility, regulatory longevity, as well as ease of service. The results showed that XL41 proved to be the best choice when taking all these factors in consideration. Of particular importance was XL41's lowest in class GWP value, which is 78% below that of R410A, and will help to avoid another near-term transition. Also important was XL41's close operating performance to 410A, which will make for a smooth transition for service technicians. While XL41 is classified by ASHRAE as mildly flammable, it has been thoroughly tested by industry-leading research organizations with more than $6 million of studies conducted thus far. XL41 falls into the same ASHRAE class of refrigerants, which has been extensively used in window and room air conditioners and many other small charge applications for many years across the globe. That has been proven safe. As we approach 2024, we are looking for additional details regarding JCI's 454B product launches, as well as information from our partners in Chemours. In the meantime, I encourage all service technicians to begin training and familiarizing themselves with these new class refrigerants. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you for helping us to understand the value that Opteon XL41 has brought to JCI's business. We agree that training is key to preparing for the future with these new refrigerants. All right, now we get to move on and hear from Jeff. Again, Jeff Warther has been a strong member of the HVACR industry for a very long time. Here's Jeff.
All right, great. Thanks a lot, Chris, for the introduction. And thanks to everyone for viewing this session on a closer look at A2L refrigerants. Now, during this presentation, you're going to hear me use the word flammable. So for everyone to better understand how the refrigerant industry utilizes ASHRAE Standard 34 to identify refrigerants into specific flammable categories, we need everyone to understand some of the tests utilized, like the two shown on the screen. Now, for an ignition event to ever occur, you need three things. You need the right concentration of air and a fuel, and in this case, we'll use refrigerant. And then you need a strong enough ignition source. Now, if any of these three conditions are not met, then there will be no ignition event. So let's go into more detail about these industry tests. Now, please note that for many of you, this session is going to go much deeper into refrigerant testing than anyone has ever presented, so please follow closely. Within the testing of every refrigerant, a globe is filled with refrigerant and air. Next, a high energy ignition source is utilized to try to ignite that refrigerant to see if it will produce a flame spread. For a refrigerant to maintain an A1 classification, the flame spread within that vessel cannot exceed the 90-degree parameter represented by that blue V shape shown in the black box. Now, as the refrigerant is ignited, you see that within this image, the flame spread stays within that 90-degree parameter. It's important to point out that the refrigerant did ignite, but it stayed within that 90-degree parameter. Now, a quotation from the Firefighter Safety Research Institute training on refrigerant safety verifies that A1 refrigerants like R22 or R410A will burn under the right conditions. So, while the industry has stated for many years that the refrigerants like R410A are non-flammable, the correct ASHRAE Standard 34 definition for an A1 refrigerant is no flame propagation, meaning the flame did not spread beyond that 90-degree value. Now, while the image on the far right doesn't appear to be too different from the Class 1 image, remember that 90-degree value is the deciding factor between no flame propagation and flammable. If the refrigerant spreads beyond that 90-degree parameter represented by the orange V shape, the refrigerant is now classified as flammable. The image in the far right shows an A2L refrigerant. The next slide, we talk about the flame spread. Once that flame spreads beyond the 90-degree value, there's actually 3 levels of flammability. The chart below shows the Class 1 image. It shows the refrigerant groupings per ASHRAE Standard 34 that are focused on that flammability. Now, let's take a moment and discuss the myth that all flammable refrigerants are the same. They are not. The 2L category is the lowest level of flammability of those 3. Now, It's a stark contrast to class 3 refrigerants like hydrocarbons or R290, commonly known as propane, which is shown in that last image on this slide. Class 3 refrigerants tend to propagate much more easily. So now that we've introduced propane or R290 into our discussion, we'll show there's a significant difference between an A2L refrigerant like R454B and an A3 refrigerant like R290 or R600. So let's begin the comparison. Opteon XL41 or R454B has an A2L classification. As you've heard earlier today, this is the refrigerant most air conditioning manufacturers have selected as their R410A replacement. R290, commonly known as a hydrocarbon or propane, is a highly flammable refrigerant, which is why this refrigerant has an A3 classification. Now, to continue our presentation, let's begin our discussion on the differences of flammability. Now, remember the 3 circles that we discussed on that very first slide, and that it takes just the right concentration of fuel and air to even have the potential for an ignition event. Now, the industry calls that beginning of that right concentration the lower flammability limit, or LFL. It is that minimum concentration of a refrigerant in air that is needed to propagate an ignition. If the concentration never reaches the LFL value, the mixture will not ignite. The chart shows that R454B has roughly 8 times higher LFL value on a mass weight basis compared to R290 or propane. And that higher value can have a big impact on risk, because as the LFL of a refrigerant goes up, this means that the system would need to leak out more refrigerant within a certain space to ever form a flammable concentration. Now, if we reach that LFL value and we get to that flammable concentration, then we need to be concerned about potential ignition sources. The industry testing term used here is minimum ignition energy, or MIE. On the chart, you see the energy to ignite the right concentration of propane is 0.25 millijoules. I mean, therefore, propane can easily be ignited by low energy ignition sources, such as something as simple as static electricity. Versus an A2L MIE is orders of magnitude higher, which again has an impact on risk, because as that MIE value increases, there are fewer potential ignition sources that can ignite an A2L refrigerant. As part of the industry's preparation, Chris said it as well, for the A2Ls, many tests have been shown just how hard it is to ignite an A2L refrigerant versus an A3 refrigerant. Now, unfortunately, we don't have time today to go into details about burning velocity and heat of combustion, but equipment manufacturers will follow the latest UL and ASHRAE standards to build equipment so the LFL values are never reached, or that there are no ignition sources that have high enough energy anywhere near the refrigerant sources. And this slide highlights some of the strategies from the latest UL or ASHRAE standards for designing and installing A2L equipment. Now, how equipment manufacturers choose to design their equipment from reaching LFLs or isolating ignition sources, these things will be discussed during their Opteon XL41 equipment training. So let's do a quick summary of an A2L versus an A3 refrigerant. First of all, A2L refrigerants are less likely to ever get to the flammable concentration, which will allow an A2L refrigerant to be designed into a wider variety of equipment. And even if the situation would allow for an A2L refrigerant to make it to that right concentration, it's much harder to get the concentration to ignite. Simply put, many of the electrical components, sources, or electrical tools used in the field will not ignite an A2L refrigerant. Bottom line, while the EPA's approved list of replacement refrigerants for R410A do have a different ASHRAE Standard 34 classification. For many systems, equipment designs will not be dramatically different associated with equipment utilizing these A2L refrigerants. So from that, send it back to Chris.
Awesome. Thank you so much. There's so much to take away from that, Jeff. I really appreciate it. Some of the most impactful points for me are how similar the A1s and the A2Ls actually are. I think that we do have some time for at least one question. I'll make it a good one. Jeff, do you know when the current residential building codes are going to be changed to allow A2L refrigerants?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's probably the most popular. So A2Ls are already enabled in a wide range of applications in the 2024 I codes. So A2Ls are currently enabled in machine rooms, in the UMC. There's several proposals further enabling A2Ls were approved by the UMC Technical Committee that was done in May of 2021. And then there's also several states like Washington, Oregon, Florida, North Carolina that have already enabled the use of A2Ls. And so we fully expect other states to follow suit. So that's kind of a short answer, but it is complicated, but it's moving quickly.
There's a lot of activity over there. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon, Jeff. And also thanks again, Esther and Chris, for your input into today's event. We appreciate it. All right, this brings us to the final portion of the event, which is the event raffle. The raffle winners have been selected at random from the group that registered for this event. We've had some fun planning the prizes, and I'm excited to announce the results. Okay, here are the winners of our event raffle. Starting with the Opteon gift bags, our lucky winners are M. David Burdett, Kevin McElvany, and Debbie Rowland. Congratulations, guys. Moving on to the center, the winners of the Opteon branded Mammoth coolers are Jerry McNavish and Adam Dorenzo. Awesome. All right. And thanks to our partnership with the National Hockey League, we're also pleased to award, who gets it? Joseph Moravik with a $250 gift card to purchase items from the NHL store. Congratulations to all our winners today. We're going to reach out to you directly to find the best mailing address to send you guys your prizes. Congratulations again, and we hope you enjoy. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time today, everybody. We're so pleased that you were able to join us for our commercial launch of Opteon XL41. If you are interested in staying up to date with Opteon products and trends in the market, please check out the Chemours A2L landing page and the Chemours Opteon XL41 product page. Additionally, if you've not already signed up, we encourage you to register for our A2L newsletter to keep up to date with latest industry news. Also, reach out to us directly if your company has any training needs or requires any technical support. We'd love to help you out. This live event has been recorded and it will be made available via a follow-up email. Take care, and thanks again for joining us, everybody.